We are talking trade on Fantasy Football Today Express. Adam Azer, Dave Richard here. Dave's trade chart is out. Make sure you take a look at it on cbssports.com. Who is your favorite buy low, Dave?
My favorite buy low is Josh Jacobs. We talked about it on the main show. I'll give you the short version. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year. And yes, in week number 4, he did split carries with Emmanuel Wilson, but he's been playing more than Wilson. He's better than Wilson. He's certainly more efficient than Wilson. And he wasn't brought to Green Bay to split 50-50. There will be weeks where Wilson or Marshawn Lloyd get 8, 9, 10 carries, but those will be the same weeks where Josh Jacobs gets 15-plus touches. That's been the track record of Matt LaFleur. I would go ahead and try and get Josh Jacobs cheap while you can.
And your favorite sell high right now?
Stefon Diggs is a sell high. He scored last week on a rushing touchdown. He's had some weird stat lines, and I don't know if he can keep that up. In his last 2 games, good fantasy games, no question about it, but no Joe Mixon on the field for Houston. And I think that that'll make a difference. I think Tank Dell coming back will make a difference. Nico Collins is an alpha. I wonder if you can get more than what his value really is for Steph Diggs, who carries brand name value. Brain name value? What the hell's wrong with me? Brand name value for fantasy managers in home leagues.
All right, I want to take a look at some of the most traded players, but also just get your thoughts on guys that might be top of mind for people looking to make some deals. How about Bijan Robinson? Got a Thursday night game. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. We expect him to play, but he's out of your first round right now on the trade chart, right?
He is out of the first round, in the second round, top 10 among running backs, still somebody who people should believe in to have a big game. Last week was a nightmare. He did have a touchdown catch called back by a penalty. I don't know. I don't know if we can look at him and say he's definitely going to be a top 5 fantasy running back. Forget about the rest of this season, maybe ever. It's not a great situation in Atlanta. They don't have an explosive offense. They need to rely on him more. They're not doing it. It makes me a little bit nervous to say that he's someone you should give up Kenneth Walker for or Alvin Kamara for. I'd be much more willing to give up James Conner and something to get Bijan Robinson.
And what about Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson, with Adams and possibly getting traded and Wilson? Hopefully, I mean, the schedule is going to get better, but it's not a cupcake schedule by any means.
Well, now I'm thinking about cupcakes, so thanks a lot for that, Adam. Look, I think that they should be viewed as number 2 receivers moving forward. Davante Adams might not really be hurt, but he's probably, it sounds like he's not going to wear a Raiders uniform ever again. If a trade happens, then hopefully his value spikes. We'd love to see him go to the Jets. I'd like to see him go to the Commanders. I think him going to the Steelers would be bad. The Cowboys are reportedly interested. I can't help but think that that could be okay, not necessarily great. We don't want him to go somewhere where he's going to cannibalize another established receiver. But in the case of Dallas, that's a team that's going to throw a lot anyway. So there could be good volume for both receivers there. I don't think that would be the case in Pittsburgh. I would not make a trade for Davante Adams overpaying with hopes that he lands in a great situation for fantasy. But if you want to trade for him at wide receiver 2 value, I'm all for it. And the same thing for Garrett Wilson. Those guys could be teammates in a week.
Would you rather have Davante Adams or Brian Robinson Jr.?
I'd rather have Adams, especially in PPR.
How do you feel about the old running backs in general? Kamara, Henry, Connor, Aaron Jones.
I'm good with them. You're going to use them. If you've got them on your team, you're obviously loving life right now. What you might want to do is safeguard them because you know that they're older and they could break down. That does happen. So if you've got Aaron Jones, do what you can to get Ty Chandler. If you've got James Conner, that's a tougher one. Does Trey Benson really make the cut as a 1-to-1 replacement for Conner? He'll get the opportunity. I don't think he'll be as good, but that could be a Band-Aid move that you could make. With Kamara, it would be Jamal Williams. Same thing as with Conner and Benson. Not a 1-to-1 type of move. Plus Taysom Hill could end up bogarting a bunch of touchdowns from Jamal Williams anyway. I think in the case of Kamara and Connor, you just want to make sure you've got really good running back depth. And if you've got it already, cool. You have no reason to trade those guys. If you don't have good running back depth, work on it. Go to the waiver wire, see who you can pick up. Acquire some buy low running backs, the cheaper ones. Chase Brown would be a good one. Kareem Hunt could be another one. And just feel like you're stacked at running back. So if one of those guys misses time, you've got a plan B that you can just put right in your lineup. Feel good about things moving forward.
All right, we're going to take a break on Fantasy Football Today Express and wrap up our trade discussion after this. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see if there are any questions here in the chat that could help us out. Would you trade Jameson Williams for Davante Adams?
Sure. Getting Davante Adams in that deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jameson Williams, like he had he had 2 for 80 and a touchdown, but the last couple of weeks have been pretty concerning for Williams. And not to say that every week is going to be like that, but if you can get someone that you think is a consistent, reliable guy, what do you think about, would you trade?
No, that's why I said sure, because I think eventually Davante Adams will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, a consistent, reliable guy. He might need to get out of Vegas for that to happen. But I don't think we will get consistency from Jameson Williams without injuries being a factor in Detroit. He's going to be a boom bust number 3 type of receiver moving forward. He's ranked appropriately on the trade chart.
It's hard to trade players on their bye, but it's not a bad idea, Dave, to trade 4 players on their bye if you can.
I was about to say, yes.
Yeah. So who would you, with that being said, who would you target?
I mean, let's go right to Philadelphia. A.J. Brown hasn't played in the last couple of weeks. I don't think fantasy managers are going to let him go unless they're 0-4 and they're desperate for help right now. Same thing for if they've got Jalen Hurts. They're 1-3, they're 0-4. They're desperate for a quarterback right now. But those are 2 Eagles whose values are a little bit lower than they were to begin the season that I would love to try and acquire right now. Is there anybody on the Lions? Maybe Laporta, if you can get him real cheap. I'd consider that. Anybody on the Chargers? Dobbins, again, if he's really cheap. And then on the Titans, no.
Dobbins is interesting because he is just dominating running back touches now. I know the last 2 games haven't been that good, but if they get their tackles back after the bye, I mean, like you've got a starting running back there, and I feel like his value has sunk from where it was 2 weeks ago. So I didn't really think about that, but that's a guy that if you're 3-1, 4-0, need a running back, that's a good guy to take a look at there.
He's exactly the type of running back that can provide depth for what we were talking about 3 or 4 minutes ago with the older running backs. If I've got J.K. Dobbins on my bench and I'm rolling with James Conner or Kamara, et cetera, I feel great about that. Also, if you don't have good running backs and you want J.K. Dobbins, you're right about the workload. He's going to continue to get that there as long as he stays healthy. He's an older running back. Could you go and back him up with Gus Edwards or Kamani Vidal? I don't think you'd feel really good about that, but it would be a move to make.
A couple more questions here. Brian says, what's the trade value of Brian Robinson Jr.?
It's very close to Davante Adams. I think he's right around the 20th running back. So that would probably make him, I don't know, probably like a round 4 pick if we were drafting today.
Okay. And then last question. Would you trade Deontay Johnson, Chase Brown, and Josh Downs for Travis Etienne and Travis Kelce?
I think I'd rather have Etienne and Kelce, to be honest with you.
But Deontay's, is he my favorite player in the deal?
I don't know if we can count on Johnson keeping this up. I think he's going to be like, you want to call him like a top 15 fantasy receiver in full PPR the rest of the way. I can more or less buy into that. But he's roughed up the Raiders and the Bengals, and he's getting crazy target volume. And there's gonna Xavier Leggett's gonna emerge. Eventually, they'll have 2 nice running backs instead of just 1 in Carolina. And this isn't a great Panthers team to begin with. So while I'm not actively he's not on my sell high list, but I wonder a little bit if Deontay Johnson can keep this up, what we've been seeing the last 2 weeks.
In a vacuum, Deontay or Kelce?
Deontay.
All right. Okay. Thanks to Dave. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow on FFT Express.